In this video for our skill builder box, we're going to take a look at brioche. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what brioche is, and then we'll get into the techniques that you'll need to knit your own brioche swatch. So brioche at its heart is a rib pattern where we have alternating knit and purl stitches, but there are extra loops of yarn created in the stitch pattern that give it a really three-dimensional volume that's not, you don't see in a normal rib pattern. We'll get into how to do that in a few minutes, but I just wanted to show you some examples. So brioche can be knit in a lot of combinations. So 2-color brioche in the round is actually the easiest one to start with. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So this is the swatch, and you can see that on the reverse side, the dark color is more prominent, on the side the light color is more prominent. We also, just as an example, so this is another 2-color project that is worked in the round for part of it. You can see it's connected here, and then it's split here because this is actually a tea cozy. So it goes over a teapot, and so part of it is worked flat. This swatch here is a pattern that's, again, 2-color brioche, but it's worked entirely flat, so not in the round at all. And you can again see the different effects by getting a light color dominant on this side, and then the dark color is more dominant on the reverse side. And then you can also use a single color to do the same rib pattern. So you can see it's got those extra little V's in the stitches, and it's got a nice three-dimensionality to it, but it's actually only worked in a single color, so you don't get that two-tone effect with a single color brioche. So now we're going to take a look at what brioche looks like on your needles, and we'll get into how to do the actual knitting steps. So as I mentioned, brioche is a rib, and in this example for 2-color brioche in the round, we're going to work each row with only one color, each round with only one color, and we're going to knit all of the light colored stitches will be knit, and all of the dark colored stitches will be purled. And the stitches in between that you're not working are slipped, but we create an extra wrap on the slipped stitches, and that gives the extra stretchiness to the fabric, and that's what makes it brioche. So you can see here, I've just knit all of the light colored stitches and added that extra wrap where the dark colored stitches are. And over here, we've just completed a dark colored round. So all of the dark colored stitches have been purled, and there's an extra dark color wrap where the light colored knit columns are. So we're going to just show you how to do that. So we're going to do what's called a brioche knit. So you'll see this abbreviated as BRK often. And all it is knitting a stitch that already has a wrap over it, and we're knitting them together. So we're going to put the needle into the stitch just like normal, and there's that extra dark colored wrap. Knit it and pull it through. So I'm using my right hand here because that's my most comfortable knitting technique. This works exactly the same if you hold your yarn in the left hand, and if you would like a tutorial for that, Michelle Lee Bernstein, who is our featured designer for this brioche box, she has a tutorial, so I'll link to that. So if you are a knitter who's more comfortable holding yarn in your left hand, you can check that out. But I'm going to go ahead and show how to do the slipping with the extra wrap, which there's a few different abbreviations for this depending on what kind of instructions you're looking at. Some designers abbreviate differently. Michelle just uses slip one yarn over. So what we're going to do is we need to slip the stitch, but we need to create a yarn over at the same time. So we're going to bring the yarn forward in front of the needle, slip the stitch purlwise. We always slip purlwise so that it maintains the stitch mount. It doesn't twist it on the needle. And then we're going to do a yarn over here. But in order to do that, we're actually just going to knit the next stitch. So we're going to, again, it's a brioche knit. So we have the extra little loop here that we're going to knit together with our knit stitch, just like normal, but we're going to bring the yarn over and around to the back as we knit it, and that creates that yarn over onto the stitch before. So again, bring to the front, slip. We're going to bring the yarn to the back as we knit the next stitch. So it's just adding one extra little movement here. Yarn forward, slip, knit with that extra loop to make that brioche knit. So one more time, yarn forward, slip, and then knit with the extra loop. So now we've done our brioche knit round with the light color. So we have all the stitches are knit with the light, and we have these extra yarn overs on the dark purl columns. And we're ready to go ahead with the dark color and do our purl round. So the brioche knit stitches, again, we're slipping these ones, and we're slipping them purlwise just like normal. And we're going to bring the yarn over and in front, because we're going to purl the next one. So we need the yarn to be in front. This is our brioche purl stitch. So it's got that extra wrap, and we're just purling it as we normally would, but purling it together with the extra wraps. So we're going to go around, through, and off the needle. And then this one, our yarn is already in front. So this one we're slipping first and then bringing the yarn over and around the front. You can see that here. It's made a nice loop over the needle, and we're going to purl the next stitch with its extra wrap. Our brioche purl, which is often abbreviated BRP. So again, our yarn is already in the front, so we slip the stitch first and then bring the yarn around over the needle, making a yarn over and making that extra loop. Back into the next purl stitch with its extra loop there, purling it, and comes off the needle. One more time, slipping purlwise, over and around, and then purl the next stitch. And you can see here, now we have the dark color has purled all of these dark columns, and we have an extra wrap over top of all of the light columns. And then you can see this from the back side. You can see those now are the knit ridges, and the purl columns are in the light color on the back. So now that we've looked at the basics of the mechanics of the brioche stitch, I'm going to show you how to get started with your swatch. So for this project, normally we would swatch flat to be able to use a small amount of fabric to measure our gauge. For brioche, we're actually going to knit fully in the round for the swatch, because it's much easier to get into the rhythm of the brioche if you're going round and round rather than stopping and trying to pull yarn across the back to do a flat swatch, or a knit in the round but have a flat swatch. And also there's a little bit of a trick to the beginning and end of the round that we wanted to cover. So we're going to do a fully in the round swatch for this box, and I'm going to show you how to get started on that. So the first thing we're going to do is cast on our stitches and knit one row in the dark color. And for the cast on, you can use whatever stretchy cast on you want, but you want to make sure that there's a lot of room between the stitches. So I just used a long tail cast on, that's my standard cast on, but I made sure that there was a good, 1/4 inch almost in between each stitch on my needle for the cast on, so it has lots of stretch and give to it. So we're going to put a marker for the beginning of our round. And then we're actually going to start with the light color for the first round. So this is going to be a knit round as we set up our rib. So we're going to do just a normal knit stitch here, first stitch with the light color. And then we're going to do our first yarn over on the stitch here. So we're bringing the yarn to the front, slip one purlwise, and then bringing it over to make the knit stitch. So this is exactly what I just showed for the brioche knit, except that there's no wraps yet on the needle. So we're creating that first row of extra wraps. So forward, slip, over and back as we create the next stitch. This becomes very much one fluid movement, and you get into the rhythm of it. You're not going to be thinking exactly forward, slip, over and back for each stitch as you get more comfortable with it. So that's it. That's how we work the first row of our brioche rib. So I've knit my first setup row for the brioche all the way around, And I just have a few stitches here left before the beginning of the round, and I'm going to show you how to end the round here. So I'm doing a yarn over here, do a brioche knit, yarn over and slip my knit, and then we're going to bring the yarn forward. We're going to slip this one, but now we're at the end of the round and we're not going to knit the next stitch. So this one is actually just going to hang out here in front of the work right here, and we're not going to worry about wrapping it over this stitch right now. We'll catch it on the next round. So we're going to slip our marker for the beginning of the round. And we have here, this is my cast on tail. I'm going to take that out of the way. This is my working yarn, and it's at the front of the work, which is great. That's exactly where I want it. Because next thing I'm going to do is slip that first knit stitch here, and then I'm going to bring the yarn over and around to make my yarn forward slip one, and then I'm going to purl this next stitch with its wrap. So this is a brioche purl, and then slip this one, the yarn's already in front, bring it over, purl the next stitch. So we'll keep going like that, slip one, yarn over, purl with the extra wrap. And that's it. And that's our brioche setup. And I'll just show you in a second the end of the round with the dark color as well. So here I've gone all the way around doing my purl stitches and yarn overs with the dark color. I'm just at the end of the round here. You can see my marker. So the last few stitches, I'm doing my yarn over, my brioche purl, my yarn over, and then this last stitch of the round, this is where we just let this light color hang out at the front. And what we're going to do is we're now going to bring it over and hold it to the back while we do this purl. So we're creating that extra loop as we're purling the stitch. So purling it with that light color here. And now we're going to drop the dark color. We're done its round. We're going to slip the marker here. And we've already got the light color at the back, which is great because we're about to knit the next stitch for our brioche knit round. So I'm just going to get my marker out of the way here. Knit this stitch is a little loose because it was my first stitch of the round, so I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. Then bring it forward, the yarn forward, slip, knit into the next stitch with its wrap to do a brioche knit. And we're back into a knit round with a light color, exactly how you did it the last time. Yarn forward, slip one, knit with the wrap. So that's going to start your brioche rib. You've done the 2 establishing rounds. You're now just going to do alternating rounds of the brioche knit with the light and the brioche purl with the dark, and slipping the stitches with the yarn forward in between. And honestly, if you want to stick with that as your brioche stitch for this swatch, you could knit the whole thing just in a straight brioche rib, and that would be a great first step into brioche. But we are going to get into doing some increases and decreases as well, because that's what is really the fun part of creating motifs with brioche. So in this swatch, we're showing some decreases and some increases that make this curved motif. So now I'm going to show you some increases and decreases in brioche. And in brioche stitch is very common because it is a rib pattern to do double increases and double decreases. So getting either subtracting 2 stitches at once or adding 2 stitches at once. And that allows us to maintain the rib pattern and always have the light, dark alternation. So the decreases will kind of look like one of the lines of rib is kind of eating the other one. It's coming over and decreasing that rib and continuing. And we have a line here of a left-leaning decrease. So it's just smushing these 2 together into one line, these 2 into the one line, and it continues up here. And here we have the same thing with a right-leaning decrease. So this one is coming over here, decreasing into this one, decreasing into this one, and continuing up. For the increases, it's always going to be a double increase. So for the purposes of this swatch, we're always going to be a double increase. So we're going to increase from this rib, we're going to grow 2 new stitches so that it turns into 2 ribs. So again, we've got the line here where we increase here, increase again to create a new rib, increase again to create a new rib. And when we pair those increases and decreases together, we get lots of movement in the motif. So that's very common in brioche motifs. They're very often organic shapes and with lots of movement. And you can see here, so these increases are worked identically, but the way that it appears that the ribs lean are based on which way the decreases are going. So the decreases pull the fabric this way, and it makes the increases look like they're leaning in towards each other as well. So I'm going to show you first the increase, the double increase, and then we'll do a left leaning and right leaning decrease. So for the purposes of this project, we're doing all of the increases and decreases with the light color on the right side. So you can see on the dark side, or the reverse side, you also maintain those rib patterns through the increases and decreases, but we're going to work them all from the right side. So always with the light color on a knit row. So here I'm in my knit row. I've just done some knit 1, yarn over, slip 1, brioche knit 1. So I'm here going to do the yarn over, slip 1. And then for my increase, instead of just doing a plain brioche knit, I'm going to knit into the stitch with its yarn over, but I'm going to leave it on the needle. So I have my stitch on the needle, my new stitch here. I'm going to do a yarn over, then knit back into the same stitch to make 3 loops, and then I'm going to pull that stitch off. So I've made 1 stitch into 3 stitch. So again, I'll show it one more time. So we're going to slip the next stitch, create the yarn over, knit, but leave it on the needle, yarn over, knit back into the same stitch, pull it through and off, and now we have 3 stitches on the needle. So when we go to work the wrong side row, which I'll show in a minute, we'll need to purl this middle stitch with a dark color to create our new rib coming out of here. So I'm just going to show how we work these increases on the next round after you work the increases with the light color. When you get to the dark color, there's just a little trick to do with them here. So I'm just going to do a few stitches to get over to where my increases are. So it's a normal slip 1 yarn over brioche purl right here. And here I'm at my increase where I have the 3 stitches together, grouped together on the needle. The first one, we're just going to slip 1 yarn over, just like normal. The middle one, we're going to purl, and this is just a normal purl because we don't have a wrap here yet. So it's not a brioche purl, it's just a normal purl. And then the last stitch here, slip 1 yarn over. We're back to our normal brioche rib here, so brioche purl stitch. And I'll just show this again on the second increase that I made here. So slip 1 purlwise, yarn over, purl in the middle, and then slip 1 purlwise, yarn over, and back to brioche rib. So you can see that you've made your 2 wraps on the outside of the stitches here, the outside of the 3 stitches, and we've got the purl starting that dark colored rib up the middle. And that's your increase, your brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit, increase. So now we're going to look at your brioche decreases. So first one I'm going to show is the brioche left leaning decrease. So it's a double decrease. And we're going to start by slipping the first stitch here and its wrap knitwise. Then we're going to knit 2 together with this next stitch and the purl stitch in between here. So we've got 3 loops on the needle, the knit stitch, the wrap, and the purl stitch. We're going to knit those 2 together. You can see my yarn over from this previous purl stitch is making a big stretch here over that one. And then this stitch here that we slipped, we're going to pass it over with its wrap. So we've just decreased so that we've joined these 2 ribs together. So this light colored rib and this light colored rib is now just 1 stitch in the middle. So I'll show that again. I'll just knit over a couple of stitches. Okay, so I've slipped my stitch, my yarn's in the front to make the yarn over. The next stitch is my decrease stitch. I'm going to slip the stitch and its wrap knitwise. Then I'm going to knit this stitch, this knit rib, its wrap, and the purl stitch, all 3 of them on the needle, knit them together. I've got that nice stretched out yarn over there that we can tighten up a little bit once the stitch is complete. We're going to pass these over, and that's our decrease there. So it's leaning left because this rib is going over top of the rib to the left of it. So now we're going to look at the right leaning decrease. So for this one, I've got my slip one and my yarn in front to make the yarn over. I'm going to decrease the next stitch, and I'm going to start by slipping the stitch and its yarn over, its stitch and its yarn over knitwise. Then this purl stitch in between, I'm also going to slip that one knitwise. And then I'm going to knit them both through the back loop. So this is kind of like an SSK, but we're doing it with the brioche stitch, so there's an extra loop. Now, this stitch on our right hand needle, slipping it back to the left hand needle. This next stitch beside it and its brioche loop, we're going to pass over top of it, and then the stitch goes back to the right hand needle. And that is allowing us to decrease with the left hand rib leaning right over top of the right hand rib of that pair. So I'll show that again. So we're going to I'll knit over a couple of stitches. So we've slipped one, yarn in front to make our yarn over, slip knitwise with the extra loop, slip the next stitch knitwise as well, put the needle back in the front of the stitch so that we can knit them together through the back loop. This is just like an SSK, but except that we have the extra loop from the brioche. So we have that SSK stitch. It's going back on our left hand needle. So we're not knitting anything here. We're just slipping the stitch back and forth. And then we're picking up this next rib and its extra loop, bringing it over top, and then the whole thing can get slipped back to the right hand needle. And that is your right leaning decrease. So the next thing I want to look at is brioche knitting charts. Brioche charts aren't as standardized as some other types of charts, like lace charts. Normally, when you see them, no matter what the designer is or what book you're looking at, the symbols are fairly standard from chart to chart. Brioche, there's a bit more variation, but I've used the symbols that Michelle Lee Bernstein used in her pattern so that you'll be using the same type of chart for your swatch as you do with the pattern. So in this swatch chart, we have a few different symbols that you might not have seen before. So we have this loop that means the brioche knit, 2 lines for slip one yarn over, the loop with the dot for brioche purl, again 2 lines for the slip one yarn over on the purl rows, and then we have a left leaning decrease, a right leaning decrease, an increase, a purl stitch, and these ones are just showing that the gray rows, the gray rows that are shaded with gray, are the rounds that you work with a dark color, and the white ones are the rounds that you work with the light color. So it can look a little bit busy because there's a symbol in each square. It might look a little overwhelming at first, but you can see on this chart, the first 4 rounds are just your plain brioche rib. So brioche knit, slip one yarn over, brioche knit, slip one yarn over, repeat it to the end. And then here, slip one yarn over, brioche purl, repeated to the end, and that's the same for row 3 and row 4. And what we've done here is that we've highlighted with different colors the increases and the decreases so that you can see where they are, see that that's the part of the chart that you need to pay attention to because you're not just working your standard brioche rib. So here on row 5 or round 5, we have brioche knit, slip one yarn over, and then we have the brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit double increase that we just learned. Slip one yarn over, and then right next to it, a left leaning decrease. Then we've got a bunch of ribs in between that we can just count as we go along to make sure that we're getting the right number. We've got a right leaning decrease here, slip one yarn over, and then again the increase. And then on the following round, that's a dark color round, you can see it's just highlighted that's the plain purl that goes in the middle of your increase because that's slightly different than the brioche purls that make up the rest of the row. Then here on round 7 is a plain brioche rib round, just a straight round all the way across. Round 8 as well, that's the dark color for the brioche purl stitches. And then again, round 9, we have some increases and decreases, and they're spaced a little bit farther apart here. So you'll be counting how many stitches in between, and that will make up the chart for this motif. So if you look at the motif and the chart, you can see that to some extent, you'll see, okay, I have a row of decreases left leaning on this side, a row of decreases right leaning on this side, and some increases. So there is some similarity visually between the chart and the actual motif, but it doesn't show the lines of the rib, how they actually interact with each other and which directions they go. So that is a little bit less one-to-one visual similarity than, for example, a cable chart, which tends to be more directly visual representation. So you will be needing to make sure that you count the ribs as you go along so that you know how many go in between each increase and decrease. So now I'm going to demonstrate the working round 5 of this swatch chart that has the increases and decreases in it, just to guide you through that first increase and decrease round. So I'm at the end of a round. I've worked a few rounds of brioche rib and I'm at the end of a dark colored round. And so this last stitch here, like I showed before, we have the light color just kind of hanging out, and we're going to bring it around to the back so that we can do our brioche purl with that last stitch of the round. Then we leave the dark color. We keep our light color at the back, and I just need to move my stitch marker out of the way here. And then I am ready to work the first brioche knit of round 5. So here we are, round 5. We have a brioche knit, slip one yarn over. So I'll do that first. Brioche knit, yarn to the front, slip one. And then we have our brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit increase in the next stitch. So knit, keep the stitch on the needle, yarn over, knit back into the same stitch. We now have 3 stitches where we had 1. The next stitch is just slip one yarn over. So into the front, slip one. And then the next stitch here is our left leaning decrease. So that one again, we're going to slip one knitwise with its little extra loop, knit 2 together. So this knit stitch, its extra loop, and the purl stitch are all getting knit together. And then pass that first stitch and its loop over top. So now we've decreased 3 stitches and their extra loops into just 1 stitch. Now on our chart, we have slip one, yarn over, brioche knit, and I'm just going to count how many brioche knits we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to slip one yarn over and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the next thing is our right leaning decrease. So we need to slip the next stitch, make the yarn over, and then this is the stitch that we're going to do the decreases in, these next stitches. So we're going to slip one knitwise with its extra wrap, slip the next one knitwise, knit them both together through the back loop. Now this is where we pass the stitch back to the left hand needle, pass these ones over and off, and then the stitch goes back to the right hand needle for their right leaning decrease here. Now after the right leaning decrease, we have a slip one yarn over here, and then we have our increase again. So we're going to go knit, yarn over, knit, all in the same stitch, and then slip one yarn over to make the end of the chart. And then your swatch is going to be big enough that you can repeat the chart twice from the beginning to the end of the round. So for the second repeat, you would go back to the beginning here, brioche knit, slip one yarn over, and you're ready to make this increase again. If you find the chart confusing, all of the instructions are given as written directions as well. So if you prefer working from written directions, that's totally fine. You can stick with that. Also, as I mentioned, if you find the increases and decreases confusing and you want to do a swatch just in rib, just to get the rhythm of it for a good amount of ribbing, you can totally do that. You could do more rows of ribbing before starting the increase as well. When I made this swatch for the tutorial, I used almost all of the yarn that was provided. So what I did here was I knit a few rows of the ribbing before doing the chart, did my chart here, and then I just did as many rows as I comfortably could, knowing that I would have enough yarn to do the bind off at the end. So this is, the pattern uses a little bit more of the dark than the light, and this is how much I had at the end. So you can just keep going with the rib once you're finished the chart, really get into the rhythm of it, and go until you run out of yarn. So the last thing I'm going to show is just once you've done as much as you want to on the swatch and you're ready to bind off, you'll need to end with a light colored round. So here we've done all of our light colored stitches and yarn overs, and then we're going to go with a dark color, and we're actually going to knit the light colored ribs with the dark color. So we're going to just knit one, and then we're going to also knit into the purl rib here. So it's just a plain knit row, but we're doing into the purl ribs and the knit with our dark color. And that just ends off the brioche, ready to bind off. So you go all the way around, and then you come back to the beginning and you can bind off from the beginning. You'll want to use some kind of a stretchy bind off. Michelle recommends using a suspended bind off, and she has a tutorial for that I can link, but if you have a favorite stretchy bind off that is different from that, you can go ahead and use whatever kind of bind off you want. You just want to make sure, because the fabric itself has so much cushiony stretch to it, that you're not doing a really tight bind off that then is going to pull in the rib.